Diary of a Wimpy Kid, cabin fever. Tuesday, 138 page. When I woke up this morning, I thought maybe everything that happened last night was just a bad dream. But then I saw a newspaper on the kitchen table. The Daily Herald. Vandalism defaces middle school. So now I'm basically a criminal. Believe it or not, this isn't the first time I've been falsely accused of a crime. When I was in the Boy Scouts, I was trying to earn my service project merit badge, and I had to do some kinds of a good deed. Mom said I should go over to Ledger Towers and see if there were any elderly people who needed help carrying groceries or something like that. And she told Roderick he had to give me a ride. When we got to the parking lot, Ledger Towers, there was a lady walking around who looked like she was lost. We asked the lady if she needed any help, and she said she was just walking to the supermarket on the other side of the apartment building. But I knew the nearest supermarket was almost 5 miles away in the opposite direction, so we said we'd give her a ride. The only condition was that she had to ride in the back because I had already called shotgun. We dropped the woman off the supermarket and then we went home. When you walked in the door, I was pretty excited to tell Mom about my good deed. I told her about the lady and how we gave her a ride to the supermarket a few miles from Ledger Tower and saved her a lot of walking. But Mom said there was a brand new supermarket a block away from Ledger Towers and the woman had probably been heading there. So that meant we dropped her off 5 miles from where she was trying to go, and now she didn't have a way to get home. Mom said we had to get back in the van and see if we could find the lady, so we went to the supermarket where we dropped her off. But the cashier told us she'd already finished her shopping and left. We eventually found the lady walking along the highway with her groceries. We tried to offer her a ride back to the Ledger Towers, but this time she wouldn't get in the van. I guess she must have called the local TV station to report us once she got home, because that night we were on the news. Teens are kidnapping residents of Ledger Towers. Could your grandmother be next? This school vandalism things seemed a lot more serious. Though luckily the eyewitness sketches in the paper didn't really look like me and Lori, so I thought maybe we'd be okay. But when I got to school, all anyone wanted to talk about was who was behind the green blobs. The school had a general assembly in the third period, and the topic was the so-called graffiti on the front of the school. Vice Principal Roy said someone had spray painted the front wall and he was sure the perpetrators were students at our school. He said someone in the auditorium knew who was responsible and it was terrible to live with a guilty conscience. Then he said he was gonna pack a lot of bugs in the cafeteria to make it easy for someone to leave an anonymous tip. At lunch, I could tell Rory was really freaking out, so I reminded him that this was a vandalism thing, was a lot of baloney, and we didn't really do anything wrong. But Rory said if he got a criminal record, he couldn't be able to get into college or get a job, and that his whole future would be ruined. It took a while, but eventually I convinced him to just stay cool and wait for the whole thing to blow over. After lunch, the police came to school, and Vice Principal Roy started calling keys down to the front office one by one. At first, I was worried someone identified us, but then I realized Vice Principal Roy was only calling the names of the worst troublemakers. That's when I knew they didn't have any real evidence and I started to relax. Dennis wrote police report to the front office. At recess, a kid named Mark Raymond told us what happened when he went in the school questionnaire. The police had a machine that they said was a lie detector, and they claimed it was a foolproof, so there was no point in fibbing. Mark said it was pretty obvious the lie detector was really just a photocopier, but whenever Mark said something the police didn't like, Sergeant Peters hit the copy buttons and out came a piece of paper. He's lying. I guess the police eventually gave up because after lunch, Vice Principal Roy started calling keys down to the front office, so I finally feel like we're off the hook.